Captain Lee Jun stood on the bridge of Kepler Station, watching the morning shift begin their work on the asteroid mines below. The coffee in his metal cup had gone cold hours ago, but he kept holding it anyway. It gave his hands something to do while his mind worried about the supply reports. "Captain, we have a problem with the quantum crystal extractors again," said Engineer Kim Tae-ho as he walked onto the bridge. His uniform was already dirty from crawling through maintenance shafts. "The third one broke down this morning. That's 2 this week." Lee Jun nodded slowly. Kepler Station was old and everything on it was falling apart. The Galactic Council had promised them new equipment 3 months ago, but nothing had arrived. They were alone out here on the edge of space, mining the rare crystals that powered faster than light travel for the entire galaxy. "Can you fix it?" Lee Jun asked. "Maybe, but we need replacement parts. The kind they don't make anymore." Kim Tae-ho wiped his hands on a dirty cloth. "We're running on borrowed time, Captain." Dr. Park Soo-jin looked up from her research station. She was studying the strange bacteria that lived in the asteroid cores. "The biological samples are showing unusual activity too. Something is making them more aggressive." Lee Jun frowned. "What kind of something?" "I don't know yet, but the patterns suggest they're responding to some kind of external stimulus, like they're afraid of something." Communications Officer Cho Min-ah suddenly straightened in her chair. "Captain, I'm getting strange readings on the long-range sensors, multiple contacts approaching from the Vega sector." Lee Jun walked over to her station. "Pirates?" "No, sir. These are big, really big, and there are a lot of them." Cho Min-ah's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "I count at least 50 ships, maybe more." The captain felt ice form in his stomach. 50 ships was not a trading convoy or a patrol group. That was a fleet. "Can you identify them?" "Working on it, sir. The computer is having trouble with the signatures. They're using some kind of jamming technology." Cho Min-ah paused. "Wait, I'm getting a partial match. Sir, these might be Vorthak ships." Everyone on the bridge went quiet. The Vorthak Empire was known throughout the galaxy as killers. They conquered worlds and left nothing alive behind them. No prisoners, no survivors, no mercy. "How long until they reach us?" Lee Jun asked. "At their current speed, maybe 20 minutes. Lee Jun looked around at his crew. These people were miners and scientists, not soldiers. Kepler Station had defensive shields and a few old weapons, but nothing that could stop a Vorthak fleet. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," he ordered. "Tell them we need immediate military assistance." Cho Min-ah worked at her station for several minutes. "No response, sir. I think they're jamming our communications. Try the emergency frequencies." "I already did. Nothing is getting through." Lee Jun closed his eyes and thought. The Vorthak were coming, and help was not on the way. In 20 minutes, everyone on this station would be dead. "Sir," Kim Tae-ho said quietly. "What do we do?" Before Lee Jun could answer, alarms started ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed on every wall. Cho Min-ah looked at her screens with wide eyes. "They're here, Captain. The Vorthak fleet just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They're surrounding us." On the main screen, Lee Jun could see them now. Dark ships with sharp edges and weapon ports that glowed red like angry eyes. The largest ship was the size of a small moon. He had never seen anything so terrifying. "Incoming transmission," Cho Min-ah announced. "Put it on screen." The face that appeared was not human or like any of the friendly alien races in the Galactic Council. It was covered in dark scales, with yellow eyes and teeth like broken glass. When it spoke, its voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "Small creatures on the mining station. You will prepare for boarding. Any resistance will result in immediate death. You have 5 minutes to comply." The transmission ended. Lee Jun looked at his crew. Dr. Park Soo-jin was shaking. Kim Tae-ho had his hands clenched into fists. Cho Min-ah was staring at her communications board. "Captain," she said softly, "I found something. There's an old frequency in the system files. It's listed as inactive, but the equipment is still here." "What kind of frequency?" "Human military. From before the Great Silence." The computer says it hasn't been used in over 200 years. Li Jun remembered the stories his grandfather had told him. Before the Great Silence, humans had been part of the galactic community. Then something had happened, and they had all disappeared. Most people thought they were extinct now. Can you send a message on that frequency? I think so. But Captain, even if there are humans out there, they probably can't help us. This fleet would destroy any rescue ship before it got close. Send it anyway, Li Jun ordered. Send our location and tell them what's happening. Maybe someone will hear it. Cho Mina's fingers flew over her controls. Message sent, sir. Outside the station, the Vorthak ships were getting closer. Li Jun could see smaller vessels detaching from the main fleet. Boarding ships. They're not waiting 5 minutes, Kim Tae-ho observed. Dr. Park Soo-jin stood up from her station. Captain, there's something you should know. The bacteria samples I was studying, they've gone completely dormant, like they're hiding. Hiding from what? I don't know. But every living thing in those asteroids has stopped moving. It's like they're waiting for something terrible to happen. The first Vorthak boarding ship attached itself to the station's main docking port with a sound like breaking bones. More followed. They're cutting through the airlocks, Kim Tae-ho reported. Li Jun drew his sidearm, even though he knew it would not help. Everyone stay together. Don't make it easy for them. Through the walls, they could hear the sound of cutting, tools and heavy footsteps. The Vorthak were inside the station. Cho Mina looked up from her station one last time. Captain, the message is still transmitting on the human frequency. If anyone is listening, they'll know what happened here. Li Jun nodded. It was a small comfort, but it was something. Maybe their deaths would serve as a warning to others. The bridge doors exploded inward, and the Vorthak soldiers poured through like a dark tide. Li Jun raised his weapon, knowing it was hopeless but refusing to give up. In the depths of space, an old human military signal continued to broadcast, carrying news of Kepler Station's final moments into the endless dark between the stars. Admiral Kexhai was drinking his morning tea when the signal arrived at the Galactic Council headquarters. The blue-skinned Zentari officer almost dropped his cup when his communications specialist handed him the decoded message. Sir, this is very strange, the young officer said. The signal is using an old human military encryption. We haven't seen anything like this in over 200 years. Kexhai read the message twice. A distress call from Kepler Station, reporting a Vorthak attack. But what made his hands shake was not the attack itself. It was the frequency the message had been sent on. Are you certain this is a human signal? Yes, sir. The encryption matches our historical records perfectly. But, sir, humans have been extinct for 2 centuries. Kexhai set down his tea and walked to the large window that looked out over the council chambers. Below him, representatives from dozens of alien species were arriving for the morning session. None of them were human. There had been no humans in the galaxy for a very long time. Send a patrol to investigate Kepler Station, he ordered, and get me everything we have in the archives about human military protocols. On the other side of the galaxy, War Chief Thule was reading the same message. The massive Vorthak commander was pleased that another mining station had fallen to his forces, but confused about the signal. What is this human frequency? He growled to his intelligence. Officer, ancient history, my lord. Humans were a minor species that disappeared during the Great Silence. They were weak and unimportant. Then why are their signals still reaching us? The intelligence officer had no answer for that. Dr. Yoon Hai-won was in her laboratory on the research station New Haven when she intercepted the signal. Unlike the others, she knew immediately what it meant. Her grandmother had been human, one of the last to live openly among the other galactic species before the Great Silence. Hai-won had kept her human heritage secret for her entire life. Being part human was not illegal, but it made other species uncomfortable. They preferred to think that humans were gone and forgotten. But Hai-won remembered the stories her grandmother had told her. Humans did not simply disappear. When they were threatened, they hid. When they were hurt, they learned. When they were angry, they became dangerous. She looked at the message again. It was definitely from Kepler Station. and it was definitely asking for help. But there was something else in the signal. Hidden codes that only someone with human knowledge would recognize. The message was not just a distress call, it was a beacon, telling any humans who received it exactly where to find the enemy. Deep in the asteroid field known as the Drift, Captain Nam Ji-woo was awakened by the sound of alarms. She rolled out of her bed and ran to the bridge of her ship, still wearing her sleeping clothes. "What's the emergency?" she asked. "Captain, we just received a priority signal on the old military frequency," said Lieutenant An Bo-ra, her communications officer. "It's a distress call from Kepler Station." Nam Ji-woo felt her heart start beating faster. No one had used the old military frequency since the Great Silence. Her people had been hiding in the Drift for 200 years, building their strength and waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves again. "Let me see it." She read the message carefully. The surface text was a simple cry for help, but underneath were the real details. Vorthak fleet positions, ship counts, weapon configurations. Someone at Kepler Station had been very smart and very brave. "Ma'am," said her tactical officer, Lieutenant Shin Yu-jin, "if this is real, those people are already dead. Kepler Station is too far away. Even if we left right now, we wouldn't arrive for days." "I know," Nam Ji-woo said quietly, "but they didn't send this message hoping we would save them. They sent it so we would know where to find their killers." She turned to address her bridge crew. "Send a coded transmission to Fleet Command. Tell them we have a priority target, and wake up the pilots. It's time to go hunting." In his private quarters, Admiral Kexhai was reading through old files about human military doctrine. What he found made him very uncomfortable. Humans had not been the weak, peaceful species that most people remembered. Before the Great Silence, humans had been soldiers. They had fought wars that lasted for generations. They had developed weapons that could destroy planets. They had never, ever given up on their own people. "Sir," his aide said over the communication system, "our patrol has reached Kepler Station. There are no survivors. The Vorthak destroyed everything." "Any sign of the ship that sent the distress signal?" "No, sir. But there's something else. Our sensors are detecting unusual energy signatures in the area. Like ships were here recently, but not Vorthak ships." Kexhai felt a chill run down his spine. "What kind of ships?" "Unknown design, sir. The energy patterns don't match anything in our database." Across the galaxy, other species were beginning to detect the same strange energy signatures. Ships that appeared on sensors for a few moments, then vanished completely, always near places where the Vorthak had recently attacked. Dr. Haewon was working late in her laboratory when her computer chimed with an incoming message. The encryption was human, but more advanced than anything she had seen before. "Dr. Yoon," the message began, "your research into human history has been noted. If you wish to learn more about your heritage, be at coordinates 347.221.189 at 800 tomorrow. Come alone." Haewon stared at the message until her hands stopped shaking. Someone knew about her human ancestry. Someone who was still alive and still using human technology. She looked out the window of her laboratory at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, the descendants of her grandmother's people were moving through the darkness. They had received the signal from Kepler Station, and now they were doing what humans had always done best. They were hunting. War Chief Thule was reviewing reports from his fleet commanders when the first ship went missing. The VFS destroyer had been patrolling the outer edge of Vorthak space when it simply vanished from all sensors. "Technical malfunction?" Thule asked his operations officer. "Possibly, my lord. But the ship's last transmission mentioned detecting an unknown contact approaching at high speed. Within 6 hours, 2 more ships had disappeared, then 4 more, all in different locations, all while investigating reports of mysterious energy signatures. Thule ordered his remaining ships to travel in groups and maintain constant communication. Whatever was happening, he would not let it continue. But in the deep space between the stars, human ships were moving like shadows. They had been watching and waiting for 200 years. They had learned patience from hiding, and they had learned anger from loss. The signal from Kepler Station had told them everything they needed to know about their enemies. Now it was time to collect what was owed. Fleet Admiral Oh Kyung-soo stood in the command center of the human fleet's flagship, watching the tactical displays that showed Vorthak positions throughout the sector. His ships were invisible to enemy, sensors protected by technology that the galaxy had never seen before. "All units report ready, sir," his operations officer announced. "Very well," Oh Kyung-soo said. "Begin Operation Payback. Make sure the galaxy remembers why it was afraid of humans." In the depths of space, engines that ran on principles beyond galactic science began to power up. Weapons that could crack moons loaded themselves with ammunition. Pilots who had trained their entire lives for this moment strapped themselves into fighters that thought and learned like living creatures. Humanity was no longer hiding. The distress signal had been answered, and the galaxy was about to discover what 200 years of preparation had created. Fleet Admiral Oh Kyung-soo watched the tactical display as his ships moved into position around the Vorthak supply convoy. The enemy had 12 heavy transports and 6 escort destroyers, carrying enough weapons and ammunition to supply 3 invasion fleets. In 30 minutes, none of them would exist. "Ghost Squadron, you are cleared for attack pattern Delta," he said into his headset. "Remember, no survivors, no witnesses." Lieutenant Han Ye-jin acknowledged the order from her fighter cockpit. Around her, 11 other human fighters moved through space like hunting wolves. Their ships were small and black, almost invisible, against the starfield. The Vorthak convoy had no idea they were there. "Target acquired," Han Ye-jin whispered to her ship's artificial intelligence. The fighter's computer was more advanced than most planetary defense systems. It could think, learn, and predict enemy movements faster than any biological brain. "Weapons ready," the ship replied in a voice that sounded almost human. "Shall we begin?" "Light them up." The attack lasted exactly 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Human fighters appeared from nowhere, fired weapons that tore through Vorthak's shields like paper, and vanished before the enemy could return fire. When it was over, 18 Vorthak ships were drifting wreckage, and space was full of debris. "Kyunk, targets eliminated," Han Ye-jin reported. "No survivors detected. Confirmed. Return to base." 3 sectors away, Commander Bae Sung-min was leading a different kind of attack. His team specialized in sabotage and infiltration. They did not destroy enemy ships, they made them destroy themselves. "The virus is uploaded," his technical specialist reported over the comm system. "Their navigation computers will start malfunctioning in approximately 6 hours. Bae Sung-min nodded as he watched the Vorthak supply depot through his binoculars. His team had spent 3 days sneaking through the facility's security systems. Now every computer on the base was infected with human-designed malware. In 6 hours, the depot's automated systems would think they were under attack. They would activate the self-destruct sequence, believing they were preventing capture by enemy forces. The explosion would be visible from orbit. "Time to go," Bae Sung-min ordered. "We have 4 more targets before dawn." On the bridge of his flagship, War Chief Thule stared at the report streaming in from across the sector. In the past week, he had lost 43 ships to mysterious attacks. Supply convoys were being destroyed. Communication relays were going offline. Forward bases were exploding for no apparent reason. "Have we identified the attackers?" he demanded. His intelligence officer looked nervous. "No, my lord. The attacks are too fast and too precise. Whatever is doing this appears and disappears without warning. Our sensors cannot track them." "That's impossible. Nothing can be completely invisible to our detection systems." "Perhaps not invisible, my lord, but certainly beyond our ability to target. The few combat recordings we have show ships that move faster than anything in our database. Their weapons are also unknown." Thule's claws scraped against the metal of his command chair. "What about prisoners? Survivors who can tell us what we're fighting?" "There are no survivors, my lord. Whatever is attacking us does not take prisoners." That night, Admiral Kexhai received a priority message from his reconnaissance ships. They had found the remains of a Vorthak supply convoy drifting in space near the Kepler system. "What destroyed them?" he asked his tactical analyst. "Unknown weapons, sir. The energy signatures don't match anything in our records, but the attack patterns are very efficient. Whoever did this knew exactly where to hit for maximum damage." Kexhai studied the tactical readout. The attack had been surgical in its precision. No wasted shots, no unnecessary destruction, just clean, professional elimination of military targets. "Sir," his communications officer interrupted. "We're receiving reports of similar attacks throughout Vorthak space. Someone is conducting a systematic campaign against their military infrastructure." "How systematic?" "Very systematic, sir. They're targeting supply lines, communication hubs, and forward bases. It's like someone has a complete map of Vorthak military assets and is working through them methodically." Dr. Yoon Hae-won arrived at the coordinates from the mysterious message to find a small transport ship waiting for her. The vessel was unlike anything she had ever seen. Its hull seemed to bend light around it, making it difficult to look at directly. A woman stepped out of the ship's airlock. She was clearly human, but her clothing and equipment were far more advanced than anything the galaxy produced. "Dr. Yoon," the woman said, "I am Captain Song Min-jun of the Human Defense Fleet. We need to talk." Hae-won followed her into the ship, amazed by the technology surrounding her. The walls seemed to glow with their own light. The control panels responded to touch and thought simultaneously. "Your people survived," Hae-won whispered. "More than survived," Captain Song replied. "We thrived. We learned. We prepared. And now we're back. The attacks on the Vorthak. That's you?" "That's us. The signal from Kepler Station told us everything we needed to know about our enemies. Now we're collecting payment for what they did." Hae-won sat down in a chair that adjusted itself to her body automatically. "What do you want from me?" "Information. You've spent your life studying galactic politics and alien psychology. We need to know how the other species will react when they realize humans are back." "They'll be afraid," Hae-won said honestly. "The old stories about human warfare were never forgotten. They were just buried." Captain Song nodded. "Good. Fear will keep them from interfering while we finish our work." Colonel Shin Dong-hyuk crouched in the maintenance tunnel beneath the Vorthak fortress on Kepler 7th. His team had been infiltrating the facility for 2 days, moving through air ducts and service corridors like ghosts. Phase 1 complete, his demolitions expert reported. "All primary power conduits are rigged. Phase 2 complete," added his electronics specialist. "Their computer systems are now under our control." Shin Dong-hyuk smiled grimly. The Vorthak fortress contained nearly 1 million soldiers and enough weapons to conquer a dozen worlds. In 10 minutes, it would become a tomb. "Execute," he ordered. First, the lights went out. Emergency power failed 30 seconds later. In the complete darkness, automated defense systems activated and began firing at targets their compromised computers had identified as hostile. Those targets were other automated defense systems. The fortress tore itself apart from the inside while Shin Dong-hyuk and his team slipped away through escape tunnels they had prepared. By morning, the strongest Vorthak military installation in the sector would be a smoking crater. Fleet Admiral Oh Kyung-soo studied the strategic map in his command center. Red dots marked Vorthak positions that had been eliminated. Blue dots showed targets still remaining. The pattern was clear to anyone who understood military strategy. "How long until we complete the operation?" he asked his planning officer. "At current pace, approximately 2 more weeks, sir. The Vorthak military infrastructure in this sector will be completely destroyed, and their ability to project force beyond their home systems eliminated, sir. They'll be trapped in their core territory with no way to launch new offensives." "Oh," Kyung-soo nodded with satisfaction. This was not about conquest. This was about making sure the Vorthak could never again do what they had done to Kepler Station. "Send a message to all units," he ordered. "Phase 2 begins tomorrow. Time to let the galaxy know who's been hunting their monsters." War Chief Thule received the message just as his flagship sensors detected dozens of energy signatures appearing around his fleet. Ships that had been invisible suddenly revealed themselves, surrounding his forces with weapons trained on every Vorthak vessel. The message was short and simple. "This is Fleet Admiral Oh Kyung-soo of the Human Defense Fleet. You are responsible for the deaths of innocent civilians at Kepler Station. Surrender your war criminals or we will collect them ourselves." Thule stared at the tactical display, Human ships. Humans who had somehow become more dangerous than anything the galaxy had seen in 2 centuries. "My lord," his tactical officer whispered, "their weapons are locked onto us. One ship could destroy our entire fleet." "How is that possible?" "I don't know, my lord, but our computers estimate they have enough firepower to crack a small moon." Thule looked at the message again. These humans were not asking for surrender. They were demanding justice, and they had the power to take it by force. For the first time in his long military career, the war chief of the Vorthak Empire felt afraid. In space around them, human ships waited patiently for his answer. Their weapons hummed with barely contained energy. Their crews had spent 200 years preparing for this moment. The hunt was almost over. War Master Gultak stood in his command center, watching the tactical display show another battle group disappearing from the screens. That made 7 fleets lost in the past 4 days. 7 fleets that simply vanished without sending any final messages or distress calls. "Sir," his aide approached carefully, "we've lost contact with the 7th Attack Wing. How many ships?" 43 vessels, including 2 battlecruisers. Gultak's claws scraped against the metal console. In his 300 years of military service, he had never faced an enemy like this. The humans appeared from nowhere, struck with impossible precision, then vanished before his forces could even identify what was attacking them. "Have our scouts found any wreckage? Any clues about their technology?" "No, sir. When human ships destroy our vessels, they leave nothing behind. It's as if our ships simply stop existing." The War Master turned to face the large window that looked out into space. Somewhere in that darkness, human ships were hunting his forces. Ships that moved faster than light without using the standard jump engines. Ships that could become invisible to every sensor the Vorthak possessed. "Sir," another officer interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from the 3rd Reconnaissance Squadron. They report detecting human ships in the Vega sector." "How many?" "Unknown, sir." The squadron went silent 30 seconds after making the report. Colonel Shin Dong-hyuk led his special operations team through the underground tunnels of the Vorthak command base on Nexus Prime. The facility was supposed to be the most secure military installation in the Empire, protected by energy shields and automated defense systems that could destroy an entire invasion fleet. But Colonel Shin and his team had not come through the front door. "Status report," he whispered into his comm device. "All security systems compromised," reported Sergeant Kim Ho-jin. "Their computers think we're authorized personnel." "Guard rotations mapped," added Lieutenant Park Ji-hyun. "We have a clear path to the command center." Shin Dong-hyuk smiled grimly. The Vorthak had built their defenses to stop conventional attacks. They had not prepared for enemies who could turn their own technology against them. "Move to Phase 2. Remember, we need the command staff alive. The Admiral wants to ask them some questions." 20 minutes later, the most secure facility in the Vorthak Empire was under human control. The guards never knew what hit them. The automatic defenses had been turned off from the inside, and the command staff found themselves prisoners without a single shot being fired. At the Galactic Council headquarters, Admiral Kexhai was reading reports that made his blood run cold. Vorthak military forces were being systematically destroyed across multiple sectors. Supply lines had collapsed. Communication networks were failing. Entire battle fleets were simply disappearing. "Sir," his intelligence officer said nervously, "we've confirmed the identity of the attackers. They're human ships." "That's impossible. Humans have been extinct for 2 centuries. "Apparently not, sir. Our deep space monitors have recorded several engagements. The ships are definitely of human design, but far more advanced than anything they had before the Great Silence." Kexhai studied the tactical data. The human attacks were not random. They showed sophisticated planning and perfect intelligence about Vorthak positions. Someone had been watching the enemy for a very long time. "How many human ships are we talking about?" "Unknown, sir. They appear to have some kind of cloaking technology that makes them nearly invisible. Our best estimate is several thousand vessels, but the real number could be much higher." "Several thousand?" Kexhai felt his hearts stop. "That's an entire fleet." "Yes, sir, and sir, there's something else. We've been monitoring communications in the human frequency range. They're not just attacking the Vorthak. They're talking to each other. They have a command structure. This isn't a random group of survivors. This is an organized military force. Ambassador Lim So-young walked into the Galactic Council chambers without an invitation. She had simply appeared in the corridor outside, despite the building's advanced security systems. No one knew how she had gotten past the guards or the scanning equipment. She was clearly human, but her clothing and equipment were beyond anything the Council had ever seen. Her uniform seemed to be made of living metal that shifted and flowed, like liquid. The device on her wrist projected holographic displays that showed information faster than most computers could process. "Honored Council members," she said in a voice that carried clearly through the vast chamber, "I am Ambassador Lim So-young of the Human Defense Fleet. We need to discuss recent events in Vorthak space." The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Representatives from dozens of alien species stared at her in disbelief. Humans were supposed to be extinct. Yet here was one standing before them, radiating quiet confidence and barely controlled power. "This is impossible," declared Counselor Vexter of the Rigelian Empire. "Humans disappeared over 2 centuries ago." "We left," Ambassador Lim corrected. "There's a difference. We withdrew from galactic society to rebuild and prepare. Now we're back." "Prepare for what?" asked Counselor Thane of the Crystal Federation. "For this. For the day when someone would need to stop species like the Vorthak from committing genocide against innocent civilians." She activated her wrist device, and a holographic display filled the center of the chamber. It showed the destruction of Kepler Station, recorded by the human ships that had arrived too late to save the crew. "The Vorthak Empire has spent the past 50 years conquering and destroying peaceful worlds. You, the Galactic Council, have done nothing to stop them because you were afraid. We are not afraid." Admiral Kexhai stood up from his seat. "Ambassador, what are your intentions? Are you planning to wage war against the Vorthak Empire?" "We are not waging war," Lim So-young replied calmly. "We are delivering justice. The Vorthak leadership will surrender themselves for trial, or we will collect them by force. And if they refuse, then we will demonstrate why the galaxy was once afraid of humans." Dr. Quan Jamin materialized in the chamber beside the ambassador, appearing from thin air without any visible transportation device. The council members gasped in shock. Not even their most advanced civilizations had perfected personal teleportation technology. "Dr. Quan is our chief science officer," Ambassador Lim explained. "He's here to answer any questions about human technological capabilities." Dr. Quan activated a device that looked like a simple metal cube. Suddenly, every electronic system in the chamber shut down. Lights went out. Computer screens went dark. Communication devices stopped working. "This is a standard human disruption field," he said conversationally. "It can disable any electronic system within a radius of approximately 10 kilometers. We also have devices that can crack planets, bend space and time, and create artificial intelligence systems that make your best computers look like ancient calculators." The cube deactivated, and the chamber's systems came back online. Council members looked around nervously, realizing that humans could have destroyed their entire facility without warning. "How?" whispered Counselor Nex of the Andromedan Collective. "How did you develop such technology?" 200 years of focused research," Dr. Quan replied. "While you were comfortable with your existing technology, we kept advancing. We had to. We knew that one day we would need to protect the innocent from predators like the Vorthak." War Master Gultak received the transmission just as his sensors detected energy signatures appearing throughout his home system. Hundreds of human ships had somehow arrived undetected, surrounding the Vorthak homeworld and its orbital defense platforms. The message was from Fleet Admiral Oh Kyung-soo himself. "Attention Vorthak Military Command. You have 24 hours to surrender all personnel responsible for war crimes against civilian populations. Failure to comply will result in the complete dismantling of your military infrastructure." "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "our scanners show at least 500 human vessels in system. Their weapons are more powerful than anything we've ever encountered. Can we fight them?" "No, sir," Our computer models showed that a single human ship could destroy our entire home defense. Fleet, we're completely outmatched. Gultak looked out at the human ships surrounding his world. They hung in space like dark angels of vengeance, patient and implacable. For the first time in Vorthak history, the predator had become the prey. Back, on the council station, Ambassador Lim was concluding her presentation. The age of allowing strong species to prey on weak ones is over. Humanity has returned to the galaxy as its protector, not its conqueror. But protection sometimes requires eliminating threats. What if we refuse to recognize your authority? Demanded Councillor Vextar. Ambassador Lim smiled, and for the first time the assembled representatives understood why the galaxy had once feared humans. It was not cruelty or anger in that smile. It was the quiet confidence of a predator that had evolved beyond the need to prove its strength. Then you'll discover that recognition is not required for justice to be served. The Vorthak are learning that lesson right now. In the depths of space, human ships continued their patient hunt. They had spent 2 centuries preparing for this moment. They would not be denied. Supreme General An Jae-sung stood on the bridge of his flagship as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Vorthak home system. Around him, the entire human fleet materialized from the darkness of space like ghosts becoming solid. All units report ready, sir, his operations officer announced. Target analysis complete, added the tactical officer. We have identified all military installations, weapon platforms, and command centers. Civilian areas are marked for protection. On. Jae-sung nodded slowly. This was not an invasion in the traditional sense. This was surgery. The goal was not to destroy the Vorthak people, but to remove their ability to harm others ever again. Begin Operation Final Justice. Remember, precision is everything. No civilian casualties. The attack began at exactly 0800 Standard Galactic Time. Human ships moved through the Vorthak home system like a perfectly coordinated dance. They did not bombard cities or destroy population centers. Instead, they systematically dismantled every piece of military hardware with surgical precision. Orbital weapons platforms simply stopped working as their control systems were taken over by human computer viruses. Ground-based missile installations fired their entire arsenals harmlessly into space. Warship construction facilities shut down their production lines and began manufacturing medical supplies instead. War Master Gultak watched in horror from his command bunker as his empire's military might evaporated before his eyes. How are they doing this? Sir, they've somehow gained control of our computer networks, his technical officer reported. Every system we have is obeying their commands instead of ours. Then cut the connections. Go to manual control. We tried, sir. Their control is embedded so deep in our systems that we can't remove it. It's as if they designed our computers from the beginning to have hidden access points. On the planet's surface, Captain Song Min-jun led a rescue team through the underground prison complex, where the survivors of Kepler Station were being held. Her team moved through the corridors like shadows, their advanced equipment making them nearly invisible to the Vorthak guards. Target acquired, she whispered into her comm device. I can see them through the cell walls. They're alive, but they've been experimented on. Through the specialized scanner built into her helmet, Song could see Captain Lee Jun and his crew in their prison cells. The Vorthak had been using them for medical experiments, trying to understand human biology and psychology. Permission to engage? Asked Sergeant Choi Woo-jin. Granted. Non-lethal force only. We're here to rescue people, not to kill guards. The rescue took exactly 11 minutes. Vorthak guards found themselves unable to move as human stun weapons paralyzed their nervous systems. Cell doors opened as computer locks obeyed human override codes. Before the prison's central command even knew something was happening, Lee Jun and his crew were safely aboard human ships. Captain, Lee Jun said weakly as medical equipment began treating his injuries, you came for us. We always come for our people, Song Min-jun replied. That's what makes us human. In the Galactic Council chambers, representatives from dozens of species watched the live broadcasts of the human operation. The feeds were being transmitted by the humans themselves, showing the galaxy exactly how they conducted warfare. Remarkable, breathed Counselor Thane. They're dismantling an entire military empire without killing a single civilian. Admiral Kexhine nodded grimly. This is what human warfare looks like when they're not fighting for survival. Precise, efficient, and absolutely unstoppable. Sir, his aide whispered, we're receiving reports from observers throughout Vorthak space. Human forces have simultaneously struck every major military installation in the Empire. It's completely coordinated across dozens of star systems. How is that level of coordination possible? And we don't know, sir. The humans appear to have communication systems that operate faster than light without any delay. They can coordinate actions across the entire galaxy in real time. Dr. Yoon Hae-won watched the broadcasts from her laboratory, tears streaming down her face. This was what her grandmother's people had become. Not conquerors or destroyers, but protectors who had evolved beyond the need for senseless violence. Beautiful, she whispered to herself. They've become everything they were meant to be. Supreme General An Jae-sung received a priority message from his intelligence teams. Sir, we've located the Vorthak leadership. They're hiding in a bunker complex beneath their capital city. Status of civilian population? All civilian areas are secure, sir. Our forces have established protective perimeters around population centers. No civilians have been harmed. Good. Proceed with the extraction of enemy leadership. The bunker complex had been designed to survive planet-killing weapons. Its walls were made of the strongest materials known to Vorthak science. It's defensive. Systems could repel conventional armies. None of that mattered to Colonel Shin Dong-hyuk and his team. They simply walked through the walls using human phase-shifting technology. The defensive systems never detected them because human stealth technology made them invisible to every form of sensor. War Master Gultak was meeting with his senior staff when the humans appeared in their conference room like materializing spirits. One moment the bunker was secure, the next moment human soldiers were standing behind every Vorthak officer. Gentlemen, Colonel Shin said politely, you're under arrest for crimes against sentient beings. Please do not resist. We prefer to take prisoners, but we're prepared to use force if necessary. Gultak looked around at his officers, then at the human weapons pointed at them. These weapons hummed with barely contained energy that could probably vaporize their entire bunker. What happens now? Now you stand trial for your crimes. The families of your victims deserve justice. Director Choi Hyo-jin established the new human diplomatic office in a space station that appeared overnight in neutral territory. The station was clearly of human construction, built with technology that made it larger inside than outside and protected by shields that could deflect the energy of a star. From this day forward, she announced to the assembled galactic media, humanity will take an active role in galactic affairs. We will not tolerate aggression against peaceful species. We will not allow genocide to go unpunished. We will not permit the strong to prey upon the weak. What gives humans the right to police the galaxy? Asked a reporter from the Centauri Republic. Director Choi smiled the same patient smile that had become the signature of human diplomacy, the same thing that gives parents the right to protect their children. We have the power to do it, and the moral obligation to use that power responsibly. Are humans planning to conquer the galaxy? Conquest would be pointless. We already have everything we need. What we're offering is protection. The galaxy can continue to govern itself as it always has. We'll simply make sure that no species ever again faces extinction at the hands of predators. Fleet Commander Yu Tae-wook oversaw the installation of human monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. The stations were small and nearly invisible, but they could observe everything that happened within their range. All stations report operational, sir, his communications officer announced. Excellent. Begin continuous monitoring of all military activities. If anyone starts building weapons of mass destruction or planning campaigns against civilian populations, I want to know about it immediately. The monitoring stations represented the new reality of galactic life. Humanity was watching everything, ready to intervene if any species threatened others. It was protection, but it was also a reminder that humans had become the apex predators of the galaxy. Captain Lee Jun recovered from his injuries in a human medical facility that seemed to exist in several dimensions at once. The technology was beyond his understanding, but the results were undeniable. His body was healing faster than should have been possible. "Captain," a nurse said as she checked his medical readings, "you have visitors." Dr. Park Soo-jin, engineer, Kim Tae-ho, and communications officer Cho Min-ah entered the room, all of them looking healthy despite their ordeal. Behind them came Captain Song Min-jun. "How are you feeling?" Song asked. "Like I've seen the future," Lee Jun replied. "Your people, what you've become, it's incredible. We're still human. We still make mistakes, we still feel anger and fear and sadness, but we've learned to use those feelings to protect others instead of destroying them." Lee Jun nodded slowly. "The signal we sent, it worked." "Yes. And because of your courage, the galaxy is a safer place. The Vorthak will never threaten innocent people again." In the depths of space, human ships patrolled the trade routes and watched the borders between species. They were invisible guardians, present but unseen, protecting a galaxy that was only beginning to understand what they had become. The age of predators was over. Humanity had returned not as conquerors, but as shepherds. They had spent 2 centuries, learning to be perfect hunters so they could protect the innocent from other predators. The distress signal from Kepler Station had been answered. Justice had been delivered. And the galaxy would never again have to fear that its cries for help would go unheard. In the darkness between the stars, human ships continued their endless patrol, watching and waiting. They had become exactly what the galaxy needed most: